If your aloe has black, mushy leaves down at the base, soft like a wet sponge, most people throw it in the trash tonight. Don't. I'm going to walk you through 5 steps to bring it back. And here's the one rule that changes everything. If there's still a single inch of green left, there's still something to save. So stay with me, because the step most people get backwards is step 3, and it's the one that actually saves the plant. Now, I've gathered the research from horticulture guides and plant experts and pulled it all into one simple rescue plan, made for one kind of plant. The aloe vera sitting on your windowsill. No fancy tools, no greenhouse, just your kitchen table and about 10 minutes. And fair warning, one of these 5 steps, the third one, is going to feel completely purpley. Wrong. Like you're killing the plant on purpose. Do it anyway. I'll show you why in just a minute. Here's the thing about aloe. It is one of the toughest houseplants on earth. The aloe on your grandmother's windowsill lived 30 years, not because she babied it, but because she mostly left it alone. Yours can do the same. It just needs the right kind of help right now. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the most common questions I see. Somebody gets an aloe as a gift, keeps it alive for 6 happy months, and then one morning, the bottom goes soft and dark, and they have no idea what went wrong. If that's you, you're in good company, and you're in the right place. A new aloe at the store only costs a few dollars. But that's not really the point, is it? The one on your sill came from someone. So let's save the one you've got. So in the next few minutes, you'll learn how to read your dying aloe in about 60 seconds, how to decide whether to operate, and exactly how to nurse it back to health. And that backwards step 3? We'll get there. Let's start where every rescue starts, the diagnosis. Step 1, the 60-second diagnosis. Before you touch a thing, you need to know what you're actually dealing with. Because a dying aloe almost always looks like one of 3 problems, and folks mix them up all the time. Get this wrong, and you end up treating the wrong thing. Problem 1 is root rot. This is the emergency. The leaves down at the base turn soft and mushy. They look see-through, almost slimy, and they flop over instead of standing up. And if you lean in close, there's a sour, foul smell. That smell is the giveaway. Root rot comes from too much water, from kindness, really. We love these plants to death. Problem 2 is the opposite, underwatering. Here, the leaves go thin and a little flat, almost deflated. The tips turn brown and papery, and that dryness creeps in from the tip toward the center. The whole plant feels light when you lift it. This one's the easy fix. The plant's just thirsty. Problem 3 is sunburn. This one fools people. You'll see dry, crispy patches, sometimes almost bleached white, and they show up suddenly on the top side of the leaves, the side facing the window. It usually happens right after you move the plant into stronger light. The tissue is dry and crispy, not mushy, and that's exactly how you tell it apart from rot. So here's a simple way to remember it. Mushy and smelly means rot. Thin and papery means thirsty. Crispy on top means sunburn. That's it. You just did in 60 seconds what most people never figure out. Now, if yours is thirsty or sunburned, I've got good news. You're nearly done. Water it slowly, or move it out of that harsh, direct sun, and it'll bounce back on its own. But if it's root rot, the mushy, smelly kind, then I'm sorry, friend. You're in the emergency room. So let's roll up our sleeves. Step 2, the triage decision. This is where you decide. Do you treat it right there in the pot, or do you pull it out for surgery? Here's the rule. If only the very tips of a few leaves look bad and the base is still firm, you can often just stop watering, move it to a brighter spot, and let it dry out. Treat it in the pot. Done. But if that base is soft and the smell is there, the rot is down at the roots, and you simply cannot fix rotten roots by leaving them sitting in the same wet soil. So we take the plant out, gently slide it out of the pot, and look at the roots. Healthy roots are firm and pale, almost white. Rotten roots are brown or black, and they fall apart, mushy, right between your fingers. And here's where most people give up. They see a plant with no good roots left, and they think, well, that's the end of it. It's dead. But it is tea. And this is the part I really want you to hear, because it's the whole reason for this video. A rootless aloe is not a dead aloe. An aloe with 0 roots can sit on your counter for 2 weeks and still come back to life. I'll show you exactly why in just a minute. But first, the scary step. Step 3. The amputation. This is the one I told you most people get backwards, and here it is. You have to cut away every last bit of the rot, even when it feels like you're destroying the plant. Take a clean, sharp knife or a pair of scissors. Wipe the blade first so it's clean, because a dirty blade just spreads the problem around. Now cut above the rot. Keep cutting upward until the inside of the stem looks solid green or creamy white all the way through. No brown, no mush. If you still see a dark ring inside, you haven't gone far enough. Cut a little higher. I know, it feels brutal. You might end up holding nothing but the top crown of leaves, with no roots at all. Don't panic. That's normal, and it's exactly what we want. Remember the rule. If there's green, there's something to save. Now, here's an optional step. Some gardeners like to dip the cut end in a diluted 3% hydrogen peroxide solution for a few minutes, just to clean it. It's the same brown bottle from the drugstore. It can help, but go easy. Use too much, it can irritate those delicate cut tissues. So it's a quick dip, not a long soak. Honestly, you can skip it entirely and still succeed. And one quick word of caution, especially if you've got pets. Aloe is listed as toxic to dogs and cats by the ASPCA. So those rotten leaves and trimmings you just cut away, don't leave them lying around where a curious cat or dog might chew on them. Toss them somewhere safe. So now you're holding a trimmed plant with one fresh cut. What you do next is the step almost everybody skips. And skipping it is the reason their rescue just rots all over again. Step 4. The intensive care unit. And the golden rule here is patience. First, that fresh cut needs to dry out and form a callus before it ever touches soil. A callus is just a dry, papery scab over the wound, tan or off-white in color. It seals the plant up so new rot can't sneak back in. This takes time, so don't rush it. A small cut needs about a week. A thick stem can take 2 to 3 weeks. You'll know it's ready when the cut is completely dry to the touch and looks like old paper. Just set the plant in a dry spot, out of direct sun, and wait. I know waiting is hard, but this right here is the difference between a plant that lives and one that rots a second time. And don't worry, you don't need any special setup for this part. A paper towel on the kitchen counter is plenty. No soil, no water, no fuss. Just leave it be and let the wound seal up on its own. This is the lazy step, and the plant does all the work. Once it's calloused over, pot it up. Use a dry cactus or succulent mix, the kind with plenty of sand and perlite, so water drains right on through. Set the plant in and put it somewhere with bright but indirect light. No harsh direct sun on a patient. And now, the hardest instruction in this whole video. Do not water it. Not yet. Here's why this works. And this is the answer I promised you back at step 2. That aloe has no roots, so it has nothing to drink with. If you pour water in now, the water just sits there and rots the plant all over again. But the plant is far from helpless. Every one of those fat, juicy leaves is a little water tank. The aloe, lives off the water stored inside its own leaves, while it slowly grows new roots underneath. That's the real secret to its toughness. It carries its own canteen. So you wait, about 2 weeks with no water at all. After that, just a light drink now and then, and only when the soil is bone dry. That's it. Step 5. The recovery window. So how long until you know for sure it worked? Let's be honest with each other. For the first couple of weeks, nothing seems to happen at all. And that's completely normal. Down below the soil, the plant is quietly growing tiny new roots. Up top, it looks like it's just sitting there, doing nothing. The first real sign of success is new growth, right from the center of the plant. A small, bright new leaf pushing up from the middle. When you spot that, go ahead and celebrate, because it means the roots have taken hold and your plant is drinking again. And while you're waiting, here's the one thing not to do. Don't keep poking at it. Don't keep tugging on it to check for roots. And whatever you do, don't keep watering it out of worry. I know the urge. The plant looks like it needs help, but the most helpful thing you can do right now is leave it alone. Set it in its sunny spot and let it work. Patience is the medicine here. So how long does that take? Here's the honest answer. It depends on the season. If you do this rescue in spring or summer, when the plant wants to grow, you might see new roots in just a couple of weeks. If you do it in the cold, dark months of winter, the plant may sit still for 2, 3, even 4 months before it wakes up. That is not failure. That's just the plant waiting for its season. So don't rush it, and please, don't throw it out too soon. And once it's growing again, you barely have to lift a finger. Which brings us right back to your grandmother. Remember that 30-year-old aloe on her windowsill? This is exactly how those plants lived so long. Not from fussing and daily watering, but from being left alone in a sunny window, watered only every now and then. So you're not just saving one plant today, you're learning the slow, patient way that's kept aloes alive for generations. So let's bring it all together. 5 steps. Diagnose it in 60 seconds. Decide whether to operate. Cut away all the rot. Let it callus and rest in dry soil. And wait for that new leaf in the center. And the one rule underneath all of it. If there's still green, there's still a chance. So here's what I'd love for you to do right now, before you forget. Go over to your aloe and gently squeeze the base of the lowest leaves, firm or soft, like a sponge. That one little test tells you everything. If it's firm, wonderful. You caught it in time. If it's soft, well, now you know exactly what to do. And if this helped you see your aloe a little differently, do me one small favor. If you think your plant is worth saving, type the word green down in the comments. And if you've already lost one to root rot in the past, type lesson learned. I read every single one. Happy gardening.